Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Metis Warrior here with Timothy and Alexandria.
Hello, everybody.
And so we have this show on multiple platforms. You may be listening to it on our new YouTube channel. And so Metis Warrior Media Group. And so if you are listening to it on the new YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can be informed every time a new show comes up. And so we are rebuilding our platforms. And so I wanted to put that out there. But one of the things we're going to talk about today is fraud, corruption, lies, and that is in the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. And now they have managed to register as a non-profit. But what I want you to understand is they are online saying they are federally and provincially recognized non-profit. But let's understand this. They are not federally and provincially recognized as an indigenous organization of any kind, non-profit, for-profit, whatever. So they are not recognized as an indigenous organization. Now, there are some people out there that may believe that they are just because the name sounds, I mean, you got Aboriginal in the name. They're recognized as a non-profit. But who can open up a non-profit? If you're living out of a trunk of your best friend's car, you can start a non-profit organization. Let's put that in perspective. It's not very difficult to do. Anybody out there can open up a non-profit organization. The AAN has been active for over 2 years. They release zero financials. They've just been recognized federally and provincially as a non-profit. They just got registered as a non-profit. Again, if you're living out of the trunk of a car, you can get recognized as a non-profit. Very easy thing to do. That doesn't mean that they're good for the community, because they're not. The Aboriginal Nation is not, the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation is not good for the Metis community, Indigenous community, in any way, shape, or form. And in case people have forgot, this group is led by a guy who cannot prove his genealogy, so a white guy who goes around convincing people that he's indigenous with his handwritten or hand-typed genealogy that he has not been able to verify. So let's don't forget that. And what does he do on Twitter? He's following escorts, pornography, adult entertainment. And what is the one thing that they're trying to raise money for right now? Education. Is this an individual that you want? So support, trying to get money for kids? I'm just asking the question.
Well, you know what, folks? Really, this is part of the scam to breaking the scam as well. And Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association. See how the word Aboriginal is used in the name? And they are not an Aboriginal. They are not an Indigenous registered organization with the government of Canada. They say they are federally, provincially registered non-profit organization. So what Timothy basically said, anybody with enough money living out of the trunk of a car can be a registered non-profit. But they are not an Indigenous Aboriginal non-profit. You have to not be fooled by the name of Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. And really, the disgusting part, and we'll go more into it in this show, and on October 17th, you'll see the screenshot as well, where the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation on their Facebook page, please donate in capital letters to our educational plan. And they again say that they're a registered non-profit. They are not an Indigenous or Aboriginal non-profit. And they also poke at the government and Inspire Educational Fund, saying that Eastern Metis, or maybe specifically Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, gets no money from any levels of government. So that's your key right there. They've said that right in their screenshot. They receive no funding from all levels of government. That means, that shows you right there that they're telling you they are not an Indigenous or Aboriginal organization. Yet we've shown you in other shows they're granting Aboriginal status, but they're not recognized by the government of Canada. Another way, when you tell so many lies, you get caught up in your lies. So They're asking you to give monthly donations to their youth educational plan, and they specifically said Aboriginal youth. So,
and they're not a recognized Aboriginal organization.
so how does that work?
They're not even recognized. You got a white man leading this organization, and we say that because he has never been able to prove his genealogy. We've asked him many times to do that. The genealogy he did send to us, guess what? It proves he's white as snow, and so it does not show him to be indigenous in any way, shape, or form. And again, why would any level of government give this organization, who's known to participate in fraudulent acts? And I kind of want to remind people of one of the fraudulent acts that they participate in. Gregory Burke and the AAN, Lisa J. Morgan, Glenn Richards, etc., they have started on their Facebook page groups. They've taken legitimate groups, legitimate Metis groups, and they put it on their Atlantic Aboriginal. They created pages for these groups and trying to mislead people into clicking onto their pages, but it's not to the actual groups. And take a look at your screenshot here. You'll see where he's created these groups, misleading and misguiding people, for people who's looking to join these organizations, and they get misled into coming into the AAN, tricked and schemed and scammed. And this is fraud, folks. And it's so much fraud that these organizations got together and they posted a warning that they are not involved in this. And Gregory Burke has done this. The AAN has done this fraudulently. And now this is somebody that you want supporting a youth educational thing. I don't think that the money would even go to youth. What I believe firmly is it's going to go into the pockets, possibly to help Lisa J. Morgan stay at home.
Well, you know what? Let's get down to the crux, then. Let's just cut it down into simple forms for you. Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association is not a registered Indigenous Aboriginal organization in Canada. Yeah, they're a non-profit, but it has nothing to do with Aboriginal Indigenous. They are soliciting donations to aid Aboriginal youth in an educational plan. But you know what, folks? Where is your donation money really going to go? And we're going to cover that in this show. So again, you have a non-Indigenous organization soliciting donations for Indigenous youth. Just exactly how does that work? And you know what? They're saying they're soliciting donations. Please donate, please donate. And you're going to see this in a screenshot as well. If you go to Dun and Bradstreet, and we're going to show you exactly that, the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association lists annual revenue of $450,348. So that's their annual revenue, but that's in USD, United States funds.
Now, hold on, let me interrupt here. Now, they're putting out that that's their annual revenue. I'd actually like to see the financial records, because I think that's a way of blowing smoke to try to raise more money and put themselves on a different level. However, they are saying they're attached to businesses. So I think my belief here is that they're misleading people on the numbers, and then maybe they're incorporating business numbers into this AAN financials. And to date, we know that we have not seen anyone that they helped at all.
And you know what? The AAN has been around for 2 years. Nowhere on their website will you ever see financials. The only place so far that we've able to ascertain any monetary amounts is Dun & Bradstreet. So the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association annual revenue over $450,000, and that's in US dollars. And you know what? The crux of it is, you're going to hear more. Why would they need donations? You're also going to see in a screenshot clearly, and this is all from Dun & Bradstreet. You can go on there yourself. They are listing 2 employees on that site and 2 employees on all sites. So the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association is only listing 2 employees. Good God, for 2 employees, your annual revenue is $415,000.
Well, I don't believe that there's no way in hell the AAN's taking in that kind of money. I think that they've incorporated the companies they're saying that's attached to its income into that figure, because the AAN, let's put it in perspective, in the Indigenous and Metis communities is nothing. They are nothing in the Indigenous communities. Nobody respects the Atlantic Aboriginal and the Indigenous communities. Nobody at all. There's no respect here unless they're related to Greg. And if they're related to Greg, they're probably not Indigenous, because we know that Greg has failed. He's ran around and convinced people with typed up genealogy, but he has no verified genealogy that proves that he's even Indigenous.
And you know what? Again, go to Dun and Bradstreet and you'll see where the AAN, and pay attention to this, folks, is listed as a public relations services industry. Nowhere on there does it say Indigenous or Aboriginal, because he certainly can't claim that, because they are not recognized, registered with the Canadian government. So again, you're going to see, just keep in mind, 2 employees on this site, on all sites. Keep in mind the annual revenue of over $415,000 USD, because you're going to
know that Gregory Burke and the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation has participated in fraudulent acts. They've lied. They went lateral violence against the Indigenous people who spoke out against them, and people who were just doing their own thing. They've attacked. They're not very moral. They have no morals, and they have zero respect in the Indigenous communities. Attaching themselves to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, how in the hell can you trust an organization like this unless they're also into escorts, lies, and fraud? And so I just would question doing any kind of business, because they are attached to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation.
And as we said, the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association lists, their address is Mineville, Nova Scotia, and you'll see in a screenshot as well that
do not support an organization that's tied with an organization that we've proven has committed fraud. The Atlantic Aboriginal Nation has sold, which is a federal violation. It's a violation of federal law to sell Aboriginal status cards. They have no right to do it. They're misleading the Indigenous community because their chief has not even been able to prove his genealogy. They're into pornography and escorts. They've committed fraud by putting up fraudulent pages that have other groups' names to lead other people into their organization, the AAN. And if you live in Nova Scotia, stay the hell away from any organization that is involved or tied in with the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. Fraudulent, non-profit, yeah, they may be registered, but they've done a lot of crooked and corrupt and criminal acts. And so let's keep that in mind.
So, folks,
now let's go to the AAN, who they tied with. The AAN has violated the Privacy Act by sharing. What they've done is they've shared membership photos that was specifically for IDs. Take a look. As you can clearly see, D. Poirier Bona, Daniel Poirier of the Indigenous Republic of Canada, participated in supporting Greg's smear campaign, and also shared this as well. They shared it in a smear campaign. So would you trust this organization with your workplace wellness, who is attached to a non-profit, who's actually shared private information all over social media in order to smear somebody? Hell no.
What kind of workplace does Atlantic Aboriginal Association, with their 2 employees involved in blackmail, fraud, corruption, smear campaigns, fraud? I mean, I would just shudder to think. But you're going to see this in a screenshot. Right from their website.
They've taken a dive when they joined with the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. Let me tell you something. I don't know what their past history is, but folks, do not do business with this organization. Do not trust them with anything. We have 100% proof that the Atlantic Aboriginal has I can't even say the word. Committed fraudulent acts. They're into immoral activities, and if they're going to violate privacy, people's privacy, and put personal information all over social media to do a smear campaign, and this organization is attached with them, They're not promoting any kind of healthier environment or anything. They're now partnered with an organization that is not respected in the Indigenous community. The only people that Greg has managed to get is close friends and family members into his organization. How in the hell these people thought that they were going to go ahead and put their company's name with the AAN? I don't understand it unless they're just as crooked as he is.
Well, let's put this in perspective. How in the hell can you be affiliated with Gregory Burke and the AAN? They are perpetrating lateral violence, lateral damage against anyone that doesn't follow their ticker-tape parade of fraud, corruption, and blackmail. What kind of company that is supposed to promote workplace harmony? Now you're involved in lateral violence, lateral damage against anyone that sees through your lies and fraud. And again, see this in a screenshot.
But hold on before you get to that, because I want to also remind people that Gregory Burke has been convicted of lying by the MFDA. Fraud, lying, misleading his clients. Are these two companies that we just showed you with Gregory Burke, with the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, are these two organizations that you would trust? You can't trust none of these organizations. This guy has been convicted of fraud, convicted of misleading his clients, and this is a shame.
Well, you know what? Gregory Burke has been convicted of misleading clients. And you know what? From what we're hearing by many people, Gregory Burke and the AAN have been misleading Aboriginal, Indigenous, Metis people for years and years, perpetrating fraud. Now they're soliciting money. But take a look at this.
This though, because they've been begging for donations. If you have donated to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, and when he came to you, if any of the board members came to you and they did not say that they were convicted, Greg was convicted of misleading clients, if they've been following adult entertainment and escorts and stuff of this nature, if they didn't tell you that they fraudulently created other groups on Facebook, if they didn't tell you all the dirty stuff that they've done, here's what I want to tell you to do. Ask for your donation back. Ask for your donation back. Actually file a complaint through whatever bank, whatever you use to make the donation, and make sure you get your money back, because you should not be donating to an organization that is definitely committed fraudulent, has a person leading it that is not even respecting the Indigenous community, etc. And this is a dirty organization, and I highly recommend anybody that's donated to go ahead and file a complaint with your bank and make sure you get those donations back.
So let's kind of rehash what is a pattern out there. Gregory Burke, the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, again, misleading people. And I really think they're misleading Dun & Bradstreet. And I invite you to go to the website. You're going to see it right there, where 3 companies are the exact mirror image of each other, with the same employees and the same annual revenue, over $415,000 USD, folks. And it's interesting, Gregory Burke is listed as the principal of Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association. And do they realize that they're maybe involved in a scheme to mislead people now that the AAN is soliciting donations to unsuspecting victims? So when you are going to maybe the plea for please donate to Aboriginal youth for educational programs.
You cannot have somebody raising money for education who's done all these things, convicted of lying by the MFDA, okay, misleading clients, involved with escorts. We've proven that, and you can take a look right here. Okay, started fraudulent groups in order to mislead Indigenous people into trying to go into the AAN instead of the groups that they're actually trying to join. There's so much more here, folks. Selling status cards without being able to do so. That is illegal.
That's against the law, folks.
Yeah, and so, I mean, take a look at the card right there. It says Aboriginal status. It absolutely says Aboriginal status. However, he's just giving these cards to a lot of people just to fluff numbers and try to take money from the Canadian government. This is not.
In the description of the video, we will put a link to the MFDA decision about Gregory Burke and see for yourself where he has been convicted of fraud, misleading clients. So, I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. So, to summarize it, so if you donate to the desperate plea of the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association, which is a non-Indigenous organization, where's your money really going to go? Well, you know what, folks? So,
or Lisa J. Morgan herself directly,
exactly.
One of the board members. I mean, we know we have messages where we know that Greg wants to support her to stay at home and not.
You know what? Get off your rear end and get a job just like everybody else. You don't need to be kept by a married man. Get off your rump. Get a job like the rest of us have to do. Support your children.
And I'm kind of wondering what's going on in Greg's marriage because and how many trips he's actually taken to see these escorts in Toronto, and what's really going on in Greg's marriage with his wife there. But anyway.
So you know what, folks? Let's just, again, the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association on Dun and Bradstreet only lists 2 employees on all sites. Again, over $415,000 USD annual revenue. So why in the heck would they need to solicit donations that are not Indigenous, not Aboriginal, folks? So what does Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association, which is a fake, fraud, Aboriginal Indigenous organization?
Because they're not an Indigenous organization. Let's understand this, okay? First, they tried to be a Metis organization. They were ousted from the Metis community, wiped from the Metis community, laughed out of the Metis community. Then they claim, take a look at the screenshot, to represent Native American
North American Indians.
North American Indians. Now, so what the hell is going on with these people? The First Nations are highly aggravated that they would even sit there and make the claim that they represent them, and so that they represent the North American Indian at all. They're not. And so this is just a way for white people to try to take Indigenous funding and Indigenous money. And I would highly recommend that if you have made a donation, to ask for your donation back. And do not donate to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. And any company, and here we're going to put the screenshot of both of these companies up here, that is attached to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, please do not do business with them, as in they are attached to a fraudulent non-profit. And anybody can get registered. You can live out of the trunk of your friend's car and register as a non-profit. That don't make you legit or real in the community or honest in the community. Trust me on that.
So I really think, and I think we really think here, is that this was a way for the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association to get financials up there, because nowhere in 2 years on their website has the AAN ever listed financials. And I'm telling you, at over $415,000 USD, AAN is living high off the hog.
There's no way in hell. I want to,
with 2 employees.
I want to contact the CRA,
Canadian Revenue Agency,
and ask them to do an audit on the AAN, because they have claimed to have this kind of money. There is no way that they have this kind of money, and unless they incorporate the businesses themselves into their financial. And if they are, I would say, is there money laundering going on here? Because I believe there could be money laundering going on here. And the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation and Burke Investments, all those companies need to be audited, because I believe there is the potential for money laundering. And there is something really shady going on here.
And you know what, folks? The Atlantic Aboriginal Nation Association is listed in Mineville, Nova Scotia. There seems to be a lot of corruption, a lot of fraud, a lot of misleading people going on in Nova Scotia, folks. And again, having that kind of revenue in USD for companies that only have 2 employees. Where in the hell is the rest of the money going to?
And they have attached themselves to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. Now, if you take a look there, you see they are attached to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. Atlantic Aboriginal Nation has committed fraud. Gregory Burke himself has not proved his genealogy. I keep saying that, but it's true. He's been convicted of lying to his clients, misleading his clients. And they've committed, they've opened up fraudulent Facebook pages under other companies' names, other groups' names, and so to mislead people. So as long as these businesses are attached to the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation, I would question their ethics.
And I mean, Gregory Burke has a long record in the eastern Nova Scotia of doing fraudulent activities, scamming people, misleading people. This is just another example of begging people to donate, and you're really going to roll the dice, because where's your money really going to go? Another scam, another fraud, sucking away your money. You may as well just throw your money down into the toilet, folks, because you really are going to be gambling on exactly where your funds, because certainly it's not going to go to Aboriginal youth.
And I want to give a little history on Metis Warrior right here. Metis Warrior is a groundbreaking media activist organization. We've done stories for the last 2.5 years that nobody wanted to touch. CBC, ABTN, APTN, nobody's wanted to touch these stories. And so our accounts were hacked. And so we lost a lot of information. We lost a lot of stuff. And but we have all of our old videos. So on these platforms, we are rebuilding. And keep in mind, we're going to re-upload every single video we ever did on this channel, but we're going to do updates for them. So now we have to focus on organizations that we talked about before that we kind of moved past, but now we'll just re-upload them and do updates on them so you can see all the hard work that we've done to fight corruption. We're well known in the Métis communities. And so, although we are slow at getting the YouTube subscribers back up, because I think this channel's been up at this point for 2 or 3 days, and we haven't been able to really promote it or let people know that the channel's up. But I'm sure that once we do promote it and let people know the channel's up, that we will get subscribers back and all of our listeners back.
And you know what, folks? There's always a silver lining to everything that happens. Now we have 3 different platforms to get our word out, get the truth out, so it's really a bonus point. And no, we have not been wiped off of social media. We're coming off stronger, and now we've got multiple platforms to speak our truth.
And also, Gregory Burke's been interested in trying to find out who my son is. And so, you know, that's we got conversations of Greg that I think would shock people, where he's actually admitting how he's going to lie and try to set some things up. That's for a future show. I don't even think he's aware that we have those conversations, but we have been given those conversations. And, yeah, I highly recommend to stay away from the Atlantic Aboriginal Nation. Going back to who we are, Metis Warrior, okay? We're a hard-fighting activist organization. CBC has taken our stories, never credited us for them. So has other media outlets. But since our channel got down, a lot of people that may be discovering us now may not know who we were and what we've done. We've done a lot of hard work. We ran a lot of protests in the communities. We organized a lot of protests out there. So the thing is, yes, we're here. We're not wiped off of social media by no means. And so we just had the misfortune of getting hacked. So because of that, we did have to rebuild a lot of things. But now our security measures are a lot more strict. We have a lot better security measures than we had before. And so we were able to get geographical locations on the hackers, on the person that actually compromised our account, and then on the hacker, which if you go back and listen to our last show, these things happen simultaneously, but we don't think each person actually knew each other. And so we are doing an investigation through IP addresses and things of that nature. So that's going to be a groundbreaking story as well. Just more lies and stuff out there. It was an attempt to try to silence us, Metis Warrior. And actually, what it did for us, as Alexandria was saying, was it made us stronger because we've now opened up other platforms. And so the word's really, really, really going to get out there. And now we're going to reshare every damn show out there.
Yeah, so I mean, it gives us the opportunity to chart new frontiers again. These other platforms give us the opportunity to share our stories to individuals that may not have seen it before. So it really turned out to be a good thing, and it's made us buckle down. And I'm going to tell you in up and coming shows, these conversations, and we're going to show you with Gregory Burke the levels that he will stoop to. It'll just shock you.
Yeah, it's going to shock you. We got conversations he don't even know.
That's right. We've got screenshots in Gregory's own words. So, folks, be wary of Gregory Burke, because if you don't agree with him, you're going to go down a long, hard road. But you know what, folks? You're not going to be alone, because we're all going to unite and stand together, and it's just going to shock you how evil and vindictive a person could a non-Metis, non-Indigenous, perpetrating lateral violence and damage.
And the schemes he tried to plot against me specifically that we have in messages. But look, here's the thing. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We are rebuilding our platforms, so we haven't went anywhere. We're still here, folks. That's it for me.
Take care.